What's going on, everyone? Conservative Video Dipper here. Dip tobacco is not a safer alternative to cigarettes, vape, nicotine, or any tobacco or nicotine product. If you are the age of 18 or under 18, we do not recommend that you watch this video or use any dip tobacco, nicotine, cigarettes, vape, or any tobacco or nicotine product at all. If you are the age of 21 or older, dip, smoke, vape, use tobacco or nicotine products at your own risk. Mileage may vary. We are not sponsored nor endorsed by any dip tobacco company or product that you may hear us talking about today. If you got a dip, pack a lip. If not, I got one in already for you. I'm dipping out Grizzly Long Cut Wintergreen. Conservative, what's today's video? We're going to talk about smoking and snuff tobacco history. So I'm doing a little research here on Google. I know you always can't trust Google, but I just kind of wanted to share a little bit of tidbit of information that maybe some of you guys and gals didn't know, and maybe some of you do know about, tobacco products. Smokeless tobacco is a form of chewing tobacco and snuff. Of course, we already know that. And has a long history dating back to pre-Columbian times in America. Wow. Native Americans were the first to use tobacco in various ways, including chewing. Did not know that the natives actually did that back then. And inhaling powdered tobacco. Ugh. Inhaling powdered tobacco would not be something I would want to try. But I would probably chew it or smoke it, more than likely. But hey, teach your own, I guess, right? The practice of using smokeless tobacco was later adapted by Europeans, explorers, and spread through the world. So here's the little bit of timeline for you. So smokeless tobacco was around pre-Columbian American time, early 16th century, mid-16th century, 17th, 18th, 19th, and 20th century. So it's been around for quite a while, actually. But one thing, again, I did not know was that the natives actually were probably the ones that started using the tobacco for chewing and or somehow inhaling, which again does not sound fun or something I recommend you doing, I guess. I mean, hey, again, teach your own if you choose to, but I wouldn't recommend it. But why does that matter? Well, why this matters is because this is history, ladies and gentlemen. This is history that maybe some of you didn't know, and I didn't know. Because I like looking up things about, like, history, especially like dip tobacco or smoked tobacco, or, smoking tobacco. I use those products. Sometimes, yes, I smoke cigarettes. Yes, I dip a lot. But sometimes, once in a while, I'll have a cigar or a cigarette. And it's kind of cool because you get to know about these types of history. If you didn't know it, now you do. And now you can look it up and figure out where a lot of it came from. And especially like if you're native, your ancestors probably actually were the ones that did it too, a lot. So think about how cool that was. I'm not sure how much the natives today use that product or consume the product, but back then they did. Anyway, here's the origin of smoked tobacco. The origin of smoked tobacco can be traced back to ancient civilization. So probably way back, way before even the native times. So smoking tobacco is a lot older than using snuff or chewing tobacco. And we're not talking like cigarettes. We're talking pipe tobacco, more than likely. But in America, where indigenous people used it for medical and ritual purposes. The medical reason, I would be curious to find out what the natives actually used it for with medical. Ritual, part of me kind of wants to take a stereotypical movie guess and say peace treaty pipes, something like that, or special occasions like weddings or certain funerals, maybe, or some kind of ceremony that's really, really important to them in their life. And something like that may have been kind of an auspicious occasion for them that they decided to use it and smoke it maybe once in a while. But the medical reason, I would be very curious to know about that. However, the modern concept of cigarettes as we know them today is attributed to the 19th century. That's about the same time that snuff tobacco was kind of getting into the scene and starting to get a little bit popular. Specifically, the first commercial successful cigarette rolling machine was invented by James Bonsack in 1881. I did not know that a guy named James Bonsack invented the first cigarette rolling machine. That is cool. That is absolutely cool to know. And especially being 1881. That was a long time ago. This machine allowed for mass production of cigarettes, making them more widely available and affordable. As a result, cigarettes became increasingly popular in the late 19th and 20th century and early 20th century. Wow. So they became popular about the same time, I guess you could say, that chewing tobacco or snuff tobacco was getting really up there. That's cool. Now, why does this matter? Well, for one, in some Western movies, you'll see cowboys smoking cigarettes, right? For instance, if you watch The Good, the Bad, the Ugly, High Plains Drifter with Clint Eastwood, a lot of Clint Eastwood's characters smoked cigarettes or cigars or whatever. Basically, they look like cigars, but I think they were cigarettes in general. And it's kind of interesting because these history about these things do matter a lot to us, and they should, because they are history. They are interesting facts that we should always remember and kind of think back to ourselves, wow, that's incredible how old and how long it's been around. For instance, like chewing tobacco, been around quite a while now. And pipe smoking tobacco has been around again since the ancient civilization times. So again, if you are Native American and you are watching this, your ancestors probably did use it more than likely, not just for their own personal use, but maybe medical and ritual purposes. So that's kind of cool to know. So maybe find out if your ancestors did do that, if you're Native. Because that'd be something fun to look up. And even to look up to see if you are Native, too. Because I know there's a lot of Natives out there. But when you talk about this, it kind of makes you think a little bit about just the mind-blowing information that you can find online. But again, be careful because, yes, Google sometimes cannot always be correct on their information. So maybe take it for a grain of salt, but at the same time, it kind of does sound like that probably is a little bit truthful. Because I would believe that ancient civilization Americans have used it. People in that ancient civilization times did probably smoke pipe tobacco. If you look at, for example, like Norse mythologies, like Odin, the Allfather Odin, or the Norse gods, Odin was allegedly well known to smoke pipe tobacco a lot. He was one of those people that did consume it and use it. and enjoyed it once in a while whenever he got the time to do it. And you can probably look back even probably a little bit further than that to find that it probably was used even before, again, even before those times. So it's been around. So tobacco use has been around a lot for a long time. And to even think, like, a guy named John Bonsack, again in 1881, created the first cigarette roller machine, which I didn't know. That's a pretty cool thing to think about. That this person was smart enough to figure out how, instead of just putting it in your pipe, to roll it and create the first cigarette that became later a big sensation and is now smoking cigarettes is a popular thing in our century, in the 21st century, right? So to think about all of this, it kind of just, like, wow. So for some of you that may not have known that, well, now you do. But, yeah, it is pretty cool. Now let's look up when was dip tobacco invented. Dip tobacco, also known as moist snuff, was first popularized and marketed in the 1800s. Sorry. What? 1800s? Okay, its roots are in Scandinavian. Probably the Norse pagans. It shares a linguistic connection with Swedish snuff brands, like the brand that we shall not name, which they do have on here, and Skoal, which is a popular American brand, reflected these Scandinavian origins. Earlier forms. While dip tobacco is relatively modern, the concept of using powdered tobacco snuff dates much back further. Indigenous people and the Americans and other parts of the world we know to use snuff, like preparations for various purposes, I guess. And it also had a European influence, commercialization, that started about 1800, Scandinavian, and modern brands. Like the name we shall not name, Copenhagen, and Skoal. So that's pretty cool. So 1800 was about when it started becoming a thing, and the roots are in Scandinavian. So if y'all or anyone has native history or Scandinavian history, look it up and see, because more than likely, again, like I said, your ancestors probably did use this a lot. These were things that were relatively common. So your ancestors either probably used pipe tobacco or snuff tobacco or chewing tobacco, whatever you want to call it, back in their days. So that's pretty cool. So it goes way back. So cigarettes, pipe tobacco, and snuff tobacco, chewing tobacco goes back way when. So that's pretty interesting. I did not know how far back it went and where its origin came from. And now that I know that some of the origins kind of come from Scandinavians, that's pretty cool to see how from back then to now it's developed. And it has developed, I think, a lot. There has been a lot of development and changes in it, sure. I'm sure probably back way when they did it maybe a little bit differently than we do now, but there you go. I never thought about that. And to think of how cool it is to know these things and know that this is kind of an important part of the history that's not only important for me, but for a lot of you guys and gals out there. Like I said, you might have ancestors that have used this. And it's kind of cool to know these things, because knowing is one thing, And that's good to have that knowledge about this stuff. So anyway, just thought I'd share a little factoids with you on tobacco history. Anyway, love you guys. Don't forget to pack, dip, and spit, as Outlaw would say. Love you guys. Don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. To all my 38 subscribers, I love you guys and gals out there. And all my viewers, I love you guys and gals out there too. Y'all are just wonderful people. I'll see you in the next video. Bye, guys.